What's going on, guys? So you were looking at our brand new 2023 GMC Sierra Denali 1500 truck with the 3-liter Duramax inline 6 engine. Super cool truck so far, really liking it, but man, GMC really has some confusing things that they've left out of this truck, and I really don't understand why. So we're going to talk about some of those today. Hang tight, I'll be right back. Okay, so first of all, I think this is absolutely a beautiful truck. I think it is probably the best looking half-ton truck on the market. And I talked about that when GMC introduced the previous body style in the AT4 trim that I had for a while as well. And I thought that was absolutely a gorgeous truck. So this next evolution of GMC looks beautiful. I just don't really have any other way of describing it. And I think most people would agree it's probably the best looking half-ton truck currently on the market. They've really done a great job there. But that doesn't mean there aren't misses. There are some really interesting things that are missing from this truck that to me just don't make sense. And hopefully you can get a future model of it with them, because this truck just doesn't have them. And let me give you an example of how you can compare this to your everyday life. So everyone probably has a smartphone, and you probably remember a time when smartphones had like SD memory card slots on them, or micro SD card slots on them, so you could add additional memory to your phone or storage. So if you're recording, if you're doing things like that, you essentially have unlimited storage. You don't have to subscribe to cloud storage, things like that. And remember when they had headphone jacks? Now I know some phones still do, but a lot of phones like iPhones and Samsung Galaxy phones no longer have headphone jacks. So you have to use the USB-C or the lightning plug on the bottom of a iPhone in order to use your headphones. But that also requires you to buy extra accessories if you want to be able to charge your phone while using the headphone jack. So again, a lot of confusing things that manufacturers do, and the auto industry is no different. But yeah, this truck has a couple misses that just kind of boggle my mind why they're not there, and let's talk about them. Okay, so we're inside the truck now. I have to admit, this is one of the coolest little graphics I've seen in a new vehicle, and I've been in a lot of new vehicles, but yeah, what's interesting about this specific truck is what it's lacking. Now, if you get into a Ram or a Ford truck, you will have a plethora of 12-volt cigarette-style adapters. And you can use them for all sorts of different things. You know, some folks will put an adapter to convert it to USB. Some folks have accessories that require a 12-volt style plug. And some folks may use it for like a portable air compressor or things like that they might need for a specific situation. This truck has absolutely zero 12-volt sockets. None whatsoever. So if you are looking at plugging in a radar detector or a dash camera that requires the plug, or a small air compressor, or just an adapter that converts it into a few more USB connections because you need to charge other devices, you can't do it because there is no 12-volt socket anywhere in this truck. It blows my mind away, and I know a lot of folks are probably thinking like, who cares? But most truck people that I've talked to really use those. I do. They're great. I use every single one of them in my Super Duty, and I have 3 of them inside of the truck. So, and I even installed a 4th one on the back of the truck, actually a 5th one. I have one on the side of my toolbox, and then I also have one in the very back corner of my truck. And it's great to have those because there's a lot of things like a Goodyear air compressor, things like that can utilize that socket, but you have no access to one in this truck at all. So I'm contemplating installing one, but it's just kind of sad because I would have expected to see at least 1 or 2. 1 in the cab, maybe 1 in the back, but 2 in the cab would have been ideal. Maybe 1 up front and 1 in the back, but there's none. And it's just kind of disappointing. Now, the second thing that's just kind of mind-boggling, and I'm not going to say it's mind-boggling because it's not in here. I'm going to say it's mind-boggling because for a pickup truck, you would just expect it. There is no glass holder compartment up top right here. There's plenty of room for it if they wanted to add one. Both Ram and Ford have a spot for your glasses, and this truck doesn't. And because there's no pocket up here, like you might see in a Ford truck, you have to essentially have your glasses in a pocket that you might normally put other things, but not your glasses. So again, kind of confusing as to why they wouldn't have a spot up here for your glasses, whether they're sunglasses, reading glasses, driving glasses. Typically you would see a spot that drops down right here that you could throw your glasses in. And this truck absolutely does not have a spot for them, which is, again, one of those things that kind of boggles my mind. Now, you know, when it comes to where I can store them, sure, there's other places. And really, I just keep them in this little spot right here. But then I throw other things in there. And the last thing I want to do is have my glasses to where I have to constantly put them in a case and put them in this one spot when every other truck that competes against this truck, aside from Chevy, puts a little spot up here that you can just drop down, throw your glasses in. And I also use that for other things as well, the registration, maybe insurance card, that kind of stuff that you can quickly access without having to have it in this area right here. So that's kind of confusing to me as well. Now, the next one is one that kind of ties back into the 12-volt socket. The fact that this truck only has one 110 outlet inside of the truck is very confusing to me. There's a second one on the bed, on the side of the bed, but I would much rather have two of them inside of the truck. Why is that a big deal? Again, if you look at Ford and Ram, they give you one on the dash, and they give you one in the back of the center console. So you actually have one for the kiddos in the back if somebody needs to plug something in. And I use them. Again, they're used for all sorts of things. We hung a TV here on the back of the headrest, and typically it would plug in right there, so I don't have to hardwire it. And it's not USB powered. That's the thing. So I need 110. So what I've done instead is I actually bought an actual power strip like you'd put in your home, and I've plugged it in here so I can plug in additional things, such as additional USB connections for powering things, not necessarily for syncing to my radio, stuff like that, but also to power the TV back here and then anything else I might need. Because if I use the TV back here with the existing socket, then I've used up my socket. So now I have a power strip inside of here to make up for the fact that there's a lack of 110 power in this vehicle. So that's one of those things as well that just kind of bothers me. I hate to say it. It's because when you get out of a vehicle that has those features and then you get into a truck that doesn't have those features, considering all the crazy cool technology, the screens, the cameras, the fact that this has Google Maps on it, it has a ton of really great technology. But then there's some really basic misses. How difficult would it have been to put maybe a 12-volt socket right here, one in the center console, one under the back seat, and then maybe one in the bed? You know, I know that's 4 of them, but maybe just 3 even. One in here, or just one. Just have one 12-volt socket would have been really, really nice. And yeah, the fact that it has none, and it only has one 110 socket right here, just, again, it's kind of confusing. You have some USB connections spread out throughout the vehicle, but not too many of them. There's a USB right here, and then USB-C right here. But then when you look at Ram, they'll have like 2 USB-Cs up front, 2 USB-Cs behind the center console here in the back, whereas this only has one back there. So it just makes things difficult, because what if you have a family that has multiple devices and you're going on a long trip and you want to connect all sorts of different things at once? It adds to the frustration of trying to figure out how you pack your stuff, what stuff you need to be able to accommodate that in the vehicle. And as connected as these vehicles are, you would just kind of assume that that would be something that's included. So yeah, just another little thing. I don't mind probably anything else in this truck. I do wish it had memory seats on the passenger side, though. It's just standard. I don't know if the Denali Ultimate does. I don't think it does, but it may have memory seats over here as well. And that's kind of important, because if my wife wants to drive the truck, you know, she has memory seats here to adjust her seat. But then when I hop into the passenger seat, I'd like it to have, you know, my memory settings saved there. And then if we swap, same thing, she can hop into that seat and make those changes, because my wife is significantly shorter than me. So every time she gets in the truck, she makes changes to the seat. And to not have memory seats on that side is just kind of confusing. Now, I know there is a Denali package that's one step above this, and that's going to be the Denali Ultimate, basically the 2022 truck that I reviewed earlier in 2022. And it had a really, really cool interior. The layout was pretty much the same. I think the seats were slightly different. It had the massaging seats. It had the cool little Denali inlay on the wood sections of the truck. A few other little touches here and there. This truck has just about every feature of an Ultimate, aside from the Power Deploy running boards, the Carbon Pro bed, which I think is still an option even on the Ultimate, I believe. This truck does not have massaging seats, and I think there was one other feature that this truck is missing as well. But for the most part, it's a fully loaded truck, and again, it's just kind of confusing why there's certain things that this truck doesn't have. Oh, here's another one too. Another one is I can't start the truck by pressing the start button. What does that mean? I can start it, but I have to have my foot on the actual brake. And this isn't a big deal when you're initially starting the truck. It's not. Where this becomes a bigger deal is if you remote start the truck. If I get into a Ram or a Ford product, I can simply come in and press the start button and the truck lights up. But if I remote start the truck and I get in and I don't press the brake down on a GMC truck, it will not let me start the truck. I have to press the brake down and the start button. Why is this a big deal? Well, it's a big deal because when my wife gets into the vehicle sometimes, I'll start the truck and it might be in a parking lot and she walks out, she gets in the vehicle to wait for me. On my Ford or a Ram, if she simply presses the start button, all the HVAC controls come on. The truck essentially goes into its normal startup routine after the vehicle's running already, and you can control everything. But in this truck, unless she goes around to the driver's side, presses the brake and then the start button, the truck won't actually turn on all of the features, and she won't be able to control the air conditioning system or anything like that. So it's just a bit of a hassle whenever you start the vehicle up to have to get in, press the brake, and then press the start button versus just pressing the start button to light up all the features. My wife, several times when I'm getting into the vehicle, she's like, I already pressed the start button for you. Now, those trucks won't let you shift them into gear or move unless you have the key in your pocket. So it's not as if you can steal the truck. It just lets you turn on the radio, lets you turn on the air conditioning controls, all of that stuff. So again, just another miss. However, I love the truck. I'm not going to lie. This truck is absolutely phenomenal. The interior is beautiful. It has probably the nicest truck interior I've ever seen. The way they've executed on things is absolutely gorgeous. The infotainment system, it's a little laggy at times, but I think they all are. It's not just GM. It's not just the GMC. But overall, though, the truck is super, super cool. But some of these misses, some of these things that it doesn't have can be really frustrating. And when you're looking for them because you had them in the other vehicles, that's really where it becomes a little more frustrating. As a loaner vehicle, I didn't really care because I didn't plug in so many things. I didn't try to make the truck an environment that we are going to use every single day. But when you own the truck, that's really where you start experiencing more of the little things that might bug you as an owner versus someone who's just going to be reviewing it for a week or so. Anyways, guys, I sure hope you enjoyed this video. I don't know if these are things that matter to you or not. Please leave a comment below. I would love to know. If you haven't had a chance, please take a moment, subscribe to my channel, give me a thumbs up. We'll talk to you again very soon.